Hey, this is attorney Elizabeth Potts-Weinstein. Today we're going to talk about how you protect your business with contracts. So a contract, what I'm talking about here is a written contract, a written agreement. And I say that because there are such things as implied contracts and oral contracts. We don't want any of that. That is not the purpose of what we're talking about here. We're talking about having something in writing. So how does this protect your business? The biggest thing is if you have every relationship in your business with your clients, customers, with people who work for you, your contractors, with your vendors, between the people who own the business, everybody, if everything was in writing, it would significantly reduce the likelihood of a misunderstanding. Most problems that happen in a business, most difficulties that people run into where there's a lawsuit is actually because it's a misunderstanding, that the two sides did not actually agree on something. They both thought that something different was supposed to happen or at a different timing or a different person was responsible or whatever. And they may be two perfectly fine people who aren't bad people, who aren't unreasonable people, but they thought something different from the other person. If you have it in writing, it reduces the likelihood of that happening. I'm not going to say it'll never happen because the thing is, people may disagree on what the writing says, okay, if the writing is overly vague. But it's a much better chance than two people like having stuff in their heads and no one says anything out loud and no one gets anything in writing. Now, there are also a number of other things that are going to go in this writing. You're going to say how much of the money is that's being exchanged, what stuff is supposed to be happening in this relationship. You're going to say what the timing is of everything, what the timing is of payments, what the timing is of the services, the products, or whatever it is. You're going to talk about refund policies. You're going to talk about how to get out of this contract. Is there a way to cancel? Is there a way to terminate? All the different things that address what if something goes wrong. Is it going to go to arbitration? Is it going to go to small claims court, regular court? Who's going to pay the attorney's fees? All that kind of stuff. And it also is a way to protect your intellectual property. So your trademarks, your copyrights, who actually owns what was created here? What rights does the other side have? There's all kinds of things that go in a contract. Obviously, it depends on the kind of contract that it is, but it will protect you so much more than not having a contract in writing. Now, when I talk about a contract in writing, I don't just mean it has to be a literal piece of paper that someone signs with a pen. That's great. In some cases, actually can be helpful because people think of that more as a contract, but it can be a contract that's electronic where people sign electronically. And it can also be a terms and conditions agreement that is just something that is agreed upon online by checking a box. I do recommend though that you always have someone manifest their agreement so they at least check a box or type in their initials or something, because otherwise, how are you going to show that they actually agreed to it? In a perfect world, they'd actually read it, but you can't actually literally force people to read things, but you want to provide the opportunity for someone to read it and have them check a box that they agree to it when they buy your product, when they sign up for your program, when they sign up for your service, etc. So how do you create a contract? Now, you can pay for a lawyer to draft custom contract for you. You can sign up for some kind of templates that you get that either can be generating contracts for you because you fill in a bunch of stuff, maybe the AI or whatever it is generates these contracts, or it could be literally just old-fashioned templates and then you type in the blanks of what the amount of money is, what the service is, etc., and what the dates are. You can also have contracts that you get from colleagues that you use, or maybe you're in an association or an industry association or something where they have template contracts for you to use. It could also be that the other side comes in with a contract. But fundamentally, there's a number of things that need to go in every contract. Really think of it this way, is you need to have in writing the demonstration of what the two sides agreed on, showing that you had a meeting of the minds, that the two sides agreed on the most important terms. So there's going to be some business terms in there, that this is not really legal stuff in the sense that a lawyer drafts this for you. This is stuff that the business people come up with. How much money, what you're going to be doing, when you're going to do it. This is just the who, what, when, where, how much money. This is not really legal. It's more the business people agree to this. And a lot of times it actually makes sense to have a meeting of the minds about that before you even talk to a lawyer, because if you can't work that stuff out, it doesn't make sense to even hire a lawyer to draft a contract for you. I'm talking about something that's like a custom contract because it's a bigger deal of a contract versus you selling something on your website. Then obviously you don't wait for the customer. You create that contract in the beginning. Then there's going to be a bunch of legal terms that go into a contract. I'm going to create some videos in the future that are going to go into all those specific legal terms because some of it can be very, very technical legalese. And you may see this stuff in template contracts. Some of it is important and some of it is just legalese that doesn't matter. That is just to make contracts look all, legal and fancy and professional, but they're actually not any more legal and fancy and professional than a contract that doesn't have them in it. So I'm going to go into that in a future separate video because it goes into a lot of technical details that may not be what you're signed up for here. So here are the top 2 tips that I have for you about contracts. Sign the contract, okay? It's not just that you create this contract and not that everyone looks at it, you have to actually sign it. Or manifest agreement another way. It can be terms and conditions that you just check a box to. It can be initialing. I mean, there's many different ways you can sign a contract. But if you have a contract between 2 parties and nobody has signed it, it is useless. I'm not saying it doesn't give any evidence of what the agreement was, but fundamentally you have an oral contract and this written contract is a bit of the evidence of the oral contract, but it is not the bottom line, okay? It is what you have is a big mess. So you want to make sure that everyone signs it. And the second thing is you have to keep a copy of that contract so you have it for later. So typically if you have a contract that's a piece of paper contract or electronic agreement that someone actually signed with a pen or signed electronically, usually people still have a copy of it. Where this runs into a problem is in terms and conditions. So I've had clients where they've had customers agree to the terms and conditions. Maybe they even did check a box. And then it's a year and a half later, and then there's a big dispute. You need to know what terms and conditions did they agree to. So you have to be able to go back and look and prove and find the terms and conditions that they agreed to a year and a half ago, which is probably not the same ones that you have now. And so it's just something important to figure out how you're going to maintain that transition of your contracts over time. There's not just one way to do it. It could be something that's in your shopping cart. It could be something that you just do manually, but you need to make sure that you know what was the contract that existed at the time that everyone agreed. Again, this is attorney Elizabeth Potts Weinstein. If you have any questions about what we talked about today or any ideas for future videos about contracts, please feel free to leave it in the comments below and I'll try to point you in the right direction. Thumbs up if you found this video helpful, subscribe for more videos like this. And if you would like even more connection or if you have even more questions, you can sign up for the free Discord or the Patreon. Links are below. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.